All right, look what we have here. It is the latest and greatest from BMW. It's their M2 in beautiful Toronto red. And for the most part, this is probably one of the most capable driving vehicles in their entire lineup. It really is a lean, mean, perfectly balanced track machine. So the question is, do you really need an M car? Oh man, you guys know me, I like EVs. In fact, I even like BMW EVs as well. But once you get into a vehicle like this M2, all of that EV range and all that charging speed, stuff like that just goes out the window. When you're driving a car this engaging, oh man, there's just so much missing on an EV. Just listen to those shifts now. We are driving the 6-speed manual. The M2 is rear-wheel drive only. I've driven the previous version on a long road trip. Plus, I was in Thermal, California at their performance driving school and tested the M2 on the track.
So that kick and then release that.
Doing great, but I want you to try to keep doing great without chasing a car. Okay?
Yes.
So I'm going to give you a good guy.
And I gotta say, it's one of my favorites for sure, mainly because of the size. I actually walked out even with some hardware, as you can see here. So yeah, this M2 is good to me. But that was the old one. Now this new one, what a difference, not just power-wise, we'll talk about that in a second, but first of all, styling-wise, you know, I think that front end, it kind of has a little bit of an M1 look to it. You know, the kidney grille is small. It's not like the large grills you see on some of their EVs or SUVs nowadays. The hood is long and it's got this kind of dimple to it. The front has these large air openings. Yeah, it looks so tough, especially with those wheel flares. We have staggered wheels on here, 19-inch in the front, 20-inch in the rear. Behind those wheels, we have 6-piston calipers with these M brakes. These have the optional red ones. Then the back, you have the quad exhaust. This thing just looks like it means business, even when it's standing still. And I think it's a great look, especially if you compare it to the non-M version. It's nice that, you know, if you're getting something this special, make it look a little special, and BMW has done a great job with that. And love the wheels, by the way. Absolutely love the wheels. And listen to that sound. Man. So what's under the hood? Well, we have the 3-liter inline 6, one of my favorite engines. This is the twin turbo though. It's not a twin scroll turbo, it's a twin turbo, and horsepower is increased now, 460 horsepower. On some sites it says 452, I'm not sure, 452, 460, it's 8 horsepower difference. I don't think you're gonna notice it too much. And BMW, a lot of times, is pretty conservative with their numbers, so it wouldn't surprise me if there is more than the posted horsepower there. 410 pound-feet of torque. We mentioned 6-speed manual transmission. You can get an automatic as well with this M2. I do wish, though, the throws were a little bit shorter on the shifter. Not a big deal. Very easy to drive. You do have a shift assistant as well, so if we're gearing down, you can see or hear the rev matching coming into play right there. You also have hill hold, so when you're on an incline, it automatically detects that. So, you know, this would not be an impossible car to learn how to drive a manual in. You can throw this thing around in the corners. You can steer with throttle if you want. It's very balanced, and I gotta say it, seriously, the size of this it's perfect. It really is. Another thing, helping corner and a nice positive handling. You have that M active differential in the rear there, really managing that power to those rear wheels very well. Now, if you go into your settings, this is what's really cool, is that they've given you so many different options. This has adaptive suspension, by the way. So we have our gear shift assistant on. You can set how you have your engine, of course, efficient. Who's ever going to use efficient on an M2, right? Sport, and then you have Sport Plus. It's not like impossibly stiff, but you will feel everything, especially when you're sitting in these seats. I'm going to talk about that in a second. So, perfect example. Cynthia, my wife, came with me to pick up this car, and we're driving down the road to get to our house. And she says, she goes, I never knew this road was this rough.
Bobblehead.
We're always coddled in, an SUV or a regular standard road car. And this one here, even like I'm driving on this road here, if I cross this line just a little bit, I'm not even hitting the reflectors. I can literally feel the paint, the rise of just those few millimeters of paint. That's how accurate this car is for road feel. It's incredible. Now we can go into a comfort, sport, or sport plus, so you can go really stiff. But I like how you can customize it, because I like a lot of times for the road, I put it all the way to comfort. And if it had one more step lower, I would even take that for comfort wise. Of course, you have your steering, your braking, but then you get down to your traction control. I love the shift lights. Oh, this thing's a monster. Anyways, if you turn the traction control off, you can actually go and it's called M traction control and control how much traction control is active. They also give the option to turn off the stability control, or you can even kind of have a setting that's kind of in between. So they have really opened up the envelope, giving you more parameters and allowing you to have a little bit more fun. Yet, if you cross a certain line, it's still going to intervene, and that's really good. Stability control, I think, is a good thing. I would highly recommend that you always keep that on, and unless you're on the racetrack and you're a really experienced driver, that stability control is going to still allow you to have a lot of fun, yet just kind of keep you on the road a little bit easier. It's almost like if a regular car was, to cut a tomato with a butter knife, this would be like using a scalpel. It just feels so precise. You can hear all the rocks coming up from those super sticky Michelin Cup tires on this. This is equipped with a carbon package or race package. And what does it give you? Well, you guessed it, carbon fiber trim on the inside, but most importantly, a carbon fiber roof, and that's going to actually save weight up top. You don't want the weight up top, you want to keep the center of gravity nice and low for handling, and also to keep weight down, you get these carbon buckets here. I gotta say though, getting in and out of these buckets, it's not the most graceful thing, but after almost a week of driving this, I've gotten the hang of it now. It's just not something you want to do all the time, in and out, in and out, in and out. If you're gonna run a whole bunch of errands, I'd rather use a different car for that. But once you're in here, man, these things hold you in so well. And what's surprising, I'm kind of surprised that they actually have power settings. A lot of these racing bucket style seats don't have any power. Not only power, but even power side bolsters. And even when you get into the back, when you release the seat back, it actually moves by power and moves back. So that's pretty impressive. With the package, you also get the M Drivers package, which raises the top speed, but also gets you a one-day performance driving course with BMW. You have to get your weight down. It's either, I believe it's in the Carolinas or in Thermal, California, which I've been to, and highly recommend it. If you want to know what your vehicle is capable of and know how to get the best out of your vehicle while being safe, I would highly recommend it for sure. It's worth it, and it's fun. All right, from a stop. So engaging to drive. It really, really is. This will make a run to 100 kilometers an hour in just over 4 seconds, 4.1. And if you use the automatic, it's probably going to be a little bit quicker. If you compare that to the non-M of, let's say, the M240 with the X-Drive, that does it in just 4.3 seconds with 382 horsepower, which is very, very good. You know, so I wouldn't discount that vehicle at all. That M240. It's not as raw as what this M2 is, but there's a lot of sport there to be had with that M240 for sure. Truthfully, if I were to buy an M2, and I know it's not really practical to have a manual transmission, especially in the area where we live, it's always bumper to bumper traffic. It seems, oh my goodness, it's getting worse every day. And it really is kind of a pain to drive a manual transmission in those instances, which is the majority of the time. But I'd probably get the manual just because you could barely find manuals anymore. You can't get a regular BMW in a manual anymore, only M cars, and there are just fewer and fewer manuals. And I have a feeling if I bought one of these vehicles and kept it for a long time, if I decided to sell it, I think the manual is really going to probably command a pretty penny for sure. So that's it for our M2 experience. It's been a good one, really, really good one. Oh man, I want to take this one onto the racetrack now. Anyways, if you have any questions or any comments, leave them down below. Until next time, see you in the next video. Ciao.